And in a swift reaction, the People's Democratic Party (PDP) asked the federal government to bury the thoughts of imposing a state of emergency in Anambra State ahead of the November 6 governorship election. In his statement, National Publicity Secretary of the PDP, Kola Olabodiyan, accuses the ruling All Progressives Congress (APC) of plots to suppress the people, manipulate the process, and rig the governorship election for the APC and its candidate. He demands that the APC and its administration should come clean on their roles in the sudden rise in insecurity in Anambra State ahead of the election. The PDP insists that the federal government has the capacity to ensure peace in Anambra before, during, and even after the election.
Well, to help us understand the legal implications of this move, we have joining us remotely from the United States, Chidi Odinkalu, a lawyer and the former chairman of Nigeria's National Human Rights Commission. Thank you so much for joining us on Newsnight. Well, let me begin by asking you, if this threat by the federal government to impose a state of emergency on Anambra, if it's coming to you as a surprise, and do you think that this is the solution to achieving calm in the state, and of course to carry out a hitch-free election come November 6th, which is actually a month from today?
Yes, indeed. It's exactly a month from today to the elections in Anambra. Let me begin from this premise. In May this year, there was a credible report that the Attorney General of the Federation, Abubakar Malami, had written a memo to President Buhari requesting for the declaration of a state of emergency in 3 states of Southeast Nigeria. And he did not credibly rebut that report, nor deny it credibly. And most people who listen to this today will look at it as coming with ill intent, coming with malignant intent, or with a great dose of malevolence. Not merely because there is a forethought to it, but also because people will think that anybody looking at the lay of the land in Nigeria would believe that government is not bringing to this a fair and equitable hand. When you look at the situation in Zamfara, and you look at the situation in Niger State, and parts of Kaduna State, and parts of the president's own Katsina State, you ask yourself the question, is Anambra the most deadly situation in the country? Let me be clear. Let me be very clear. One life lost anywhere in Nigeria is one life too many. And this particular regime has been too prone to not treating every Nigerian life equally. And in many ways can credibly be accused of politicizing the insecurity in the country. And one more thing. The last line I heard from the clip from the Attorney General is that the government will intervene if they do not believe the state government is acting in order to protect lives and property. That is not the role of the state government. It's actually the role of the federal government under Section 14 of our Constitution to protect lives and property. That is a total misrepresentation of our constitutional position by the Attorney General for malevolent political purposes, and that sucks.
But then, what do you make of the wanton destruction of properties, INEX offices, police posts, setting ablaze the SS office that was recently, and then of course the threats by the Ipob of sit at home every Monday and Friday, and the recent killings going on in Anambra State? Politicians, no more drive big cars or put campaign posters on their cars. What do you make of all that?
I don't have anything other than utter condemnation for the descent into lawlessness in parts of Anambra State, indeed in parts of Southeast Nigeria. It's not just Anambra State. And I've gone on record. Ipob has been irresponsible, and Ipob is a criminal franchise, the way it has carried on. I am on record on that, and I'm not going to back down on that. Absolutely not. But no, you cannot hold state governments responsible for that. It is the primary responsibility of the federal government, under Section 14 of the Constitution. That's the first thing the federal government exists to do, to guarantee the safety and security of every part of Nigeria on equal terms. I'll say two things about that. First of all, every rule has an inherent element of legality and of proportionality. Okay? That means legality means what? You treat all situations equally, like situations alike. Now, I'll give you an example. If you're the Director General of the Fire Service, and your house is on fire, you are the custodian of not just the water hydrants, but of the vehicles that deliver them. And instead of using them to put the fire out in your house while it's on fire, you say you are preserving it for the next household where children are gathering knockout, as the Nigerian expression will have it. What that means is people may be forgiven for thinking of you actually as an arsonist. This is the best way I'm going to describe it for you.
And I want to get your thoughts on this because a recourse to the Constitution, Section 305, subsection 3, states clearly the conditions for a state of emergency. It's a long list, but it also says, the state of emergency requires extraordinary measures to avert danger. You seem to be of the opinion that this situation in Anambra does not call for the threats by the federal government at this point. So what exactly should the federal government be doing? You also say it is not the responsibility of the state government. Are you absolving them of any fault here? And if not, what should they be doing? What should the federal and the state governments be doing? If you say this state of emergency threat shouldn't come into force.
Look, there are mechanisms of intergovernmental consultation that have always existed. They do exist. I understand that President Buhari is meeting with the governor of Anambra State probably tomorrow. Those are mechanisms of intergovernmental consultation that should have been triggered long ago before this. Now, you cite Section 305 of the Constitution. That also requires that any proclamation of a state of emergency has got to be ratified by the National Assembly within 48 hours or it lapses. And so that also is necessary, by the joint sessions of the National Assembly, that is by the House of Representatives and by the Senate. All right, that is also important to point out here. And let me add this: Article 28E of the Statute of the African Court of Justice and Human and People's Rights actually says that when you alter the landscape of an election within 6 months of the date of the election without the consent of the majority of political actors, you commit an international crime. Let me repeat myself. When you alter an electoral landscape within 6 months of the date of the elections, without the consent of a majority of the political actors in that place, under Article 28E of the Statute of the African Court of Justice and Human and People's Rights, you commit an international crime. And I think somebody needs to tell that to our Attorney General.
All the time we have, because I was going to ask you, well, let's leave it there. Thank you so much, Chidi Odinkalu, former chairman, Nigeria's National Human Rights Commission.